Yeah, man. Yeah, you get no's all the time. It's definitely part of it. It's like, what do you do?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the crazy things. Oh, hey guys, my name is Anis Taylor.
I'm Cody Eddings.
And welcome to the SnapRefund podcast. This is episode number 2. So, to kick things off with this episode, it's been pretty hectic for us the last couple of weeks since our last episode. We've really been pitching to a lot of companies. We've been trying to pitch to VCs. We've been trying to pitch to cohorts and trying to look for potential partners. However, things have not been going too well for us for the last month.
Yeah, definitely been kicking our ass.
So why don't we go ahead and level set? This episode that we have today is called How Do Startups Handle the Word No? So why don't we go ahead and kick off the story and tell them how we kind of got to this theme of how do startups handle no, Cody?
Yeah, well, it wasn't because we were getting a lot of yeses. I'll tell you that much. So a quick story, right, about how we came to this one. So you and I, we were prepping a lot the past few weeks to pitch for an accelerator that had a lot of ties to the insurance industry. And within that, we were hoping that we could join this studio where we would have direct access to a lot of decision makers at insurance companies. And through these carriers and associated businesses around that carrier space, we would have opportunities to process payments for them. Now with that, we had to go and prove, like you would to a venture capitalist, to get into this accelerator, that our company had merit, that we were the real deal, that we had enough upside to make it worth them giving us a $50K check, right? So within that, we pitched. I'm all right at pitching. I've been doing this a little bit. I think I know a little bit about it at this point. And we got good feedback that we prepared nearly perfectly. The pitch was very exceptional. We progressed a lot in what we were looking to gain from the studio. We did our background research. We did our homework, right?
We did our homework.
So with that, I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, what's up? Let's go ahead and get that invite. And then the sentence ended with, and they voted, and then I'm just waiting, every second is like an eternity, and then I hear, and it was no. And I'm
But it wasn't just any no.
You're right, it was a unanimous no. So every member on the panel who heard the pitch said no. So with that, there's an immediate knee-jerk reaction that it's really easy to feel as a human being. It's like, why is it no? But you also, just having enough experience in these situations, realize that it's not a personal thing, and you just gotta roll with it, because there's always gonna be more no's than yeses, at least at this stage of the business, and really in life, to be honest, but maybe that's a bigger discussion. So that's how we came to this, is because you and I were so hyped on this opportunity, and we did so much to knock it out of the park to get into this accelerator, and we didn't get in. And the reason, for anyone who's curious, it wasn't even necessarily that the company wasn't prepared, wasn't ready, anything like that. It was just that the people on the panel felt like we weren't a pure enough play in the insurance sector for what they wanted, and they felt that we were more of a core fintech business that was servicing the insurance sector. And part of that, there's some merit too, so you can't be mad at it, but it doesn't change the fact that it's disappointing when your expectations are subverted, regardless. So that's how we came to this episode, and I know you got a lot of no's in your life, I got a lot of no's in my life, so let's talk about it.
Well, let me go ahead and ask you that question. As a startup, when you're pitching and you hear that no, how do you get through it? You've been giving it everything you got. You're a startup, you've never been in this space before. This is your first business, your first company. You're giving it everything you got, you prepared. You've been told, you're told no. How do you get through that?
It's a mental journey, not even a journey, it's just a mental game, really. I think the mental game with that is, if you let it weigh on you, which is normal, to be clear, because the last thing we want to do is act like it's unrealistic or unnatural or just bad to feel down when you get a disappointment or rejection. No, that's real, that's gonna happen. For me, I've just been fortunate enough to have people like you around me who I have someone to talk to when it didn't go the way that we wanted. And same thing with you, when something happens and it's not what we expected, like another story for another day. We have CTOs have come and gone, people have come and gone. It's the nature of business. And there have been times when you talk to me and you're like, I wish it would have turned out this way. And you're like, yeah, I know, man, I feel the same way, I hear you. So having people around you to help pick you up helps a lot for me. And then beyond that, just staying confident. I mean, I do this because I love this. I know you do this because you love this. So even when it's not going our way, my thought is, all right, bet, let's make it go our way.
Yeah, no, I think you said it well. I mean, you really just got to push yourself through it. The fact that if you really love what you're doing, it just makes it a lot easier to get through it, right? It's when you have a different idea in mind where maybe you're probably just doing something for the money or you're doing something to impress somebody. When the core foundation of what you're building is not authentic to who you are, you're really not going to enjoy the process.
Yeah.
And really the main thing that you want to do is really enjoy the process. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship, right? Is going through that journey of the unknown. And for us, it's a little bit different because we don't have that backing where, you know, you could say that you're a startup and you're starting from ground zero, but you've gotten a $5,000, $20,000, $50,000, $300,000 check just to start and building a business from ground up. It's a little bit different than when you're $30,000 in debt and trying to start a business, right? Because you just believe in it and something is just giving you your idea, right? So within that process, right, it's really hard to develop a business just for anybody. Why don't we go ahead and just level set for our listeners who's tuning in for the first time to the SnapRefund podcast. Really, what is the basics of SnapRefund? What are we doing with this startup? Our journey to where we're at right now, and how does SnapRefund triumph over the consistent no's that a lot of startups are facing?
Yeah, well, I will say, that was like 3 questions in one.
Okay, well, you can start with the first one.
Let's go number 1. What does SnapRefund do?
Yes.
We are a payment processing platform in the insurance space, but at the core, a business-to-consumer payment platform that makes it easy for a business to pay a person, a business to pay another business. So outbound business payments is our bread and butter. With that, what we do unique, what we do that helps people in ways it might not be as easy for people who are currently using other platforms, is that we're making it very simple to onboard onto the platform. So you could be an immigrant, you're part of the underbanked, you're someone who doesn't have access to conventional financial systems. You use predatory payday lending, check cashing services. All of these people, 1 in 4 adults in the US is underbanked. So that means you're not going to use conventional financial services, or you're going to be subject to these predatory fees when trying to use them, when trying to cash a check from your insurance claim, etc. What we do is we come in and partner with those businesses. We look at companies that are willing to take on that burden of saying, let's actually care about everyone who needs to get paid, and not just the people it's convenient to pay, and make sure that when they need to get their money, they can get it digitally, instantly, and as easily as possible. So what does that really mean, right? Let's talk tangible, not just vision here. What our platform does today, if you need to get paid, all we need is your first name, your last name, and your email address, and you can get your money from a business or another person on SnapRefund's platform. Check us out at SnapRefund.io, book some time, email us, Cody.Eddings@SnapRefund.io, Anis.Taylor@SnapRefund.io. We are here today to get those payments going from your business to the people and businesses that need to get paid as effortlessly as possible.
Okay, so that's a great level set for our first question. Question number 2, as we've been going through this journey, how do you as a CEO navigate these treacherous waters of hearing no and keeping your team focused as far as what the task and the mission is?
Yeah, so navigating those waters typically looks like, number 1, being open to the fact that you capsize sometimes, and that's part of the process, and that's okay. And number 2, it's never assuming too much. That's a big one I've learned. The more assumptions you make, the more risk you're baking into your venture.
Yeah.
So if you stay flexible, like truly flexible, you actually listen to the feedback, and it's sometimes the small things, just like a little comment here and there during a demo, that can drive, in my experience, so much learning. They can help course correct you while you're riding those waves. And then beyond that, as far as keeping the team on point, the team keeps me on point. I'm not even gonna, there's no bones about it. This guy right here is gonna make sure that I'm on my square, in the same way that I'll make sure he's on his. So that's just surrounding yourself with good people, the right people, and having fun working together. And that's really priceless.
Yeah, it really makes the process more enjoyable when you have a solid team, people that you really get along with, that share the same vision that you do, and have the same purpose and same goal of where you're trying to get to.
Oh yeah.
So, as a startup, as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, do you feel motivated or deflated when you're rejected by a business, by a potential partner, or a VC?
I think it comes in waves. I think there's a bit of both. And it depends on the expectations you set for yourself. And I think that really determines how you absorb it, at least for me, because everyone's gonna have their own psyche around it. I feel motivated above all else, just in the fact that if I know that we had a real chance at winning the deal, whether it's investment, client, etc., then I'm like, all right, we're gonna get it next time. Then on the flip side, when I feel maybe that I've made too many assumptions and that I don't even know it yet, or I'm like, oh yeah, we got this one, this one's a lock, and then it doesn't happen, that's when it really feels like that knife, when you're like, oh, we wanted that one so badly. So it's balancing both for me. What's it like for you?
Well, I'm motivated. I get motivated whenever I get rejected, or just something that says, hey, you can't do this, you're not at the level of what we're looking for. It doesn't deflate me, because when you really come from the bottom, just as I have, and just my story, and just really trying to make it from nothing, you're so used to just being stepped on and rejected on and overlooked that it doesn't even bother you. You kind of get immune to it and numb. And where I find my greatest strength is that I utilize that as fuel for the fire. I utilize that as motivation. I utilize that continues to push me forward. One of the things that I love to say is stay the course. So I think it's just really important that when I get into those situations, I know what my task is. I know what the goal is. I know where our team needs to go. And as a chief operating officer, it's important for me to continue to maintain the operation, right? You're still in the game. That's the thing. When you decide to quit, that's when you're out of the game. The fact that we're still here, the fact that we're still kicking, the fact that we're still making calls, the fact that we're still pitching, the fact that we're not going to allow some studio that we had our super hopes of. I mean, we were even talking about plans like, oh, this is going to be a great partnership. We share the same values, all these great things. And then for them to be like, oh, it's a unanimous no. And we're still kind of like, I don't understand why we fit all the criteria before we even got to this level that it could be a unanimous no, but you're kind of just used to being a startup. But I just use that as motivation. I don't let that stop us, and that's why we're here. That's why we have this podcast, because I think it's really important for us as we're going on this journey to share our story with other business founders, with other entrepreneurs, with other people that are thinking about having a startup or that do have a startup that is facing the same problems that we're facing today. It's really important for that.
That's the MJ approach, by the way. That's like using the doubt, the discounting as fuel. That's the Michael Jordan approach. And I know, for those of you who don't know, this guy, by the way, cold on the court. He's a baller for real. So let's not sleep on the fact that there's definitely some parallels. And I think the MJ approach is interesting because as much as I do the same thing, where as soon as someone says that you can't do something or you're not able to do something, you're not good enough, whatever that doubt is, I take that and then I just want to prove them wrong out of just almost like a borderline like arrogance, if I'm being totally real and introspective. Is like, I just don't want anyone else to be able to dictate what I'm capable of. But
that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur too.
Yeah, like, because you have no one else to blame but yourself if it goes wrong, is the reality. But you also have no one else but yourself to applaud when it goes right. And that's that up and down cycle that you chase, and it keeps you going when you love it, when you live for this. So Shout out Michael Jordan, man.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite Michael Jordan quotes is he says something like, obstacles don't have to stop you. If you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Actually figure out how to climb it or work around it. The way that I look at it, man, if you got to break right through that wall, break right through that threshold, because once you break through that threshold, that's when it gets a lot easier. It's like blowing up a hill, and then finally you get to go down that hill, and that journey is just a lot smoother, right? It's a lot more enjoyable. And that's the way that I just look at it. So, we're just wrapping everything up with episode 2 of the Snap Refund podcast. Where does Snap Refund go from here?
Well, first things first, we have a ton of awesome new features coming out for our platform. We're going to be launching those very shortly, hopefully in the next 1 to 2 weeks here. We'll see what the dev team ends up cooking up as far as the final deadline, but we're looking to add extra features. We upgraded our security, improved our onboarding flow, made everything even more user-friendly than before, so that's really exciting. Beyond the actual technical back end and front end, we have some opportunities in the pipeline as far as sales go, looking at the Coded by Kids pitch competition here in Philly very shortly. So we're looking to move onward and upward and keep it rolling.
Absolutely. I think that's great, and I think that just speaks to the testament of how we're just still pushing and we're still staying the course. Before we wrap up, any last words that you have for any young businessman, young entrepreneur, a startup founder out there that's finding themselves in the same situation? What last words do you have for them to kind of help them navigate through their journey as well?
Yeah, I'm going to actually say know when to accept feedback and when to stick to your guns. Overall, it's really easy to put the blinders on and just say, oh, I got these no's, someone wants to say yes, let me just keep pushing through blindly. But the reality is, find out what you can take from the no's and get to the yes in a better way and actually get the job done. Because there's something to be gained from, even when it doesn't go your way, finding out why and what to take from that. What would you say?
I would say stay the course. That's what I love to say. Stay the course, stick to your guns. Stick to what it is that you're doing. Don't allow no to bring you down, because in actuality, every no brings you closer to a yes. Find that passion that you have for what it is that you do and continue to let that be your guide. If you do that, everything will be all right. Look, we're still here. We've been doing this for 2 years.
Yeah, almost 2.5
Almost
now.
2.5 years. We still have to lock in that potential great big time insurance partner that we're looking for that can really help us scale to that next level.
We know you're out there, by the way. We're going to meet you soon.
Out there, and we're going to meet you soon. And the reason why we're going to meet you soon is because we're staying the course. And that's what businesses should do. That's what startups should do. And that's what we hope you guys can learn from us as we go along on this journey. Because not only are we doing this journey for us, we're also doing this journey for you. Just so you guys can see in real time the steps that it is that a business has to take in order to get to that next level. So, my name is Anis Taylor, and I really thank you guys for joining us for episode 2 of the Snap Refund podcast. I'm here with my co-host,
Cody Eddings.
and we really appreciate you guys. Please make sure you tune in to our next episode of the Snap Refund podcast. We'll catch you later.
See you then.
Peace.